Hey, good evening. What is up? This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com is where you're going to get your next vehicle. Norman, London, Mike in Buffalo. It is Tuesday, May 6th, 2025. The Maple Leafs up 1-0 in their second round series with the rival Florida Panthers. Can you believe it? A 5-4 win, squeaking out a victory over the reigning Stanley Cup champions, and there's lots to talk about, Mike. There's the emotion of the game, Sam Bennett. We all want this guy drawn and quartered. But if we get down to the minutia, the stats, the Leafs did some nice things, and they have some things they have to be concerned about. Good evening.
Good evening, Norm. Yeah, I mean, if you take the game in total, because they won the game, you're very pleased if you're a Leaf fan. If you look at it in segments, like I tend to do, the first 40 minutes were fantastic. The last 20 minutes were a disaster, and they barely held on for the victory. There are obviously reasons for that, and we'll discuss them in the next little bit. But you have to be happy that the team is in the lead in the series. You have to be happy for the fact that they pushed back against a team that was physical. But you also have to be very wary, as I wrote about Hockey Hot Stove this morning. This is the same playbook. The filthy Florida effers. I mean, this is what they do. This is how they work. They will play this playbook to its end.
Right.
And the Leafs have to be prepared.
This is the Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford in London, Ontario. OakRidgeFord.com. Tariff pricing is hovering over our heads. Low interest rates right now. If you're looking for anything, I'm your guy for Leafs content. You know you got to come to me for your next vehicle. OGs and converts do it every single month. Why not you? Like the content, subscribe to the channel while we're here. 30 shots to 29 shots. Leafs just eking out in that stat. Winning 60% of the faceoffs the Leafs did. So here's what bothers me. 0 for 5 on the power play. That can't happen again. I mean, there was just a lot of pomp and circumstance and a lot of emotion in last night's game. The Leafs did hold things in check, but 0 for 5 is a bloody killer, Mr. Augello. The other thing is, and we knew this was coming, the Panthers out-hit the Leafs 2-1. And that's not going to change anytime soon, right? So the Leafs need to score with the man advantage, and they need to deliver more hits or be able to continue to sustain the abuse that the Panthers are providing already in the series, because it's not going to stop anytime soon.
That's their game. That's their playbook. They're going to do that. That you know, if they're breathing, they're hitting, and so that's get ready, because that's what they're going to do. But what I think, the Leafs did pick their spots. You saw a couple. You saw a nice Jake McCabe hit. You saw it was one of those backing into I think it was Kulikov, but it might be wrong. You saw Max Pacioretty being very proactive. But it's just not the Leafs game to waste people and be. You don't want to get into a hitting contest with the Florida Panthers. That's like getting into a baseball context with the New York Yankees. You're going to lose most of the time. And Craig Berube is, I think he instructed this team not to turn the other cheek. Don't get pushed around, but this is their game. They want you to respond. They want you to retaliate, because they know in the playoffs, it's always the retaliator who gets the penalty.
Right.
So, I mean, the most ridiculous call, there were a ton of ridiculous non-calls last night, but the most ridiculous call of the night was the Max Domi penalty on Marchand, when he didn't even hit him.
Right.
He didn't even cross-check him. He didn't. It was so that's
what he tried. So the officials were trying to set the tone, like, hey guys, the whistles are available. They are visible. Try us. And the thing is, they didn't stick to that. And so it's contradictive. You're trying to drop the gauntlet on us 5-6 seconds into the damn game, but It wasn't sustained. There were terrible situations that came up that there was no whistle blown. For example, dum-dum Sam Bennett running an elbow into Anthony Stolarz' head. And like, where was the whistle on that? Well, we didn't catch it. It's just nonsense. It was almost Angel Hernandez-esque. It's almost MLB umpire-esque. Look at us. We are the officials. We are here, and we're just as relevant as the players. And then they just kind of backed off and let things happen, which I'm not necessarily complaining about, but that penalty was useless. And there were other times where they could have blown the whistle and awarded an infraction to a player who deserved it, and they didn't.
Well, some of the penalties that were called, I thought, were borderline. The call that it was Kalle Järnkrok got wasted at the bench. That was definitely a penalty. But some of the calls
they did call that though, didn't they?
They did, but I'm saying some of the calls were borderline.
That was on Kulikov?
No. I'm not sure. I don't remember who it was, but it was at the bench. He got shoved into the bench. His helmet got knocked off, but it wasn't the penalties that were called. It was the penalties that were not called.
Okay.
And the Bennett one is the most ridiculous one of them all. I mean,
how did they not see that?
They saw it. Of course they saw it. The referee was looking right at it. Paul Maurice said this morning, the referee was looking at it, so of course it's not a penalty because he was looking at it and he determined it wasn't.
What was unbelievably egregious. He threw his elbow into the goaltender's head. And you saw the reaction of the goaltender. I mean, that in and of itself is reason to blow the whistle and give Bennett two, if not more.
The bizarre thing of this whole situation is Stolarz takes a shot off of the mask in the first period from Sam Reinhart, knocks the mask off. He didn't appear dazed. Then Bennett elbows him, and he goes down. And some people may have thought he was trying to sell it to get a penalty. He was okay for about 10 minutes, not 10 minutes.
Who thought that? That's insane. He got whacked.
Right, but the problem is that he acted like nothing was wrong. And then he goes to the bench during the TV timeout and he's fine. And then he goes to the bench again and then he throws up.
How does he know, Mikey? How was he acting? He doesn't know. We all know this. And I'm not the softest player in the world. Hey, old school hockey, concussions, too bad. Just get back over the boards and go play. But how does he know? Like the reaction to the hit should have said it all.
Well, the concussion spotter did not pull him out of the game. The Leafs medical staff pulled him out of the game when he vomited. So there was no indication, and he acted. He shook his head or a little whatever. I mean, there's some guy who's a doctor on Twitter who's if he's vomiting, that's a sign of a serious concussion. I mean, whatever. In the moment, they didn't know, but it's not that whether he was concussed or not was not the problem. The problem was the actual incident and how you don't call a penalty on a player that goes through the crease and accidentally hits Anthony Stolarz in the head. It's insane.
So let me real quick. The Panthers' reputation preceded them, and the ironic thing is that the official is blowing the whistle, throwing a leaf into the box in the first minute of the game. But it's the Panthers we all know who toe the line and cross it often, right? And in that moment, where was the reaction to that? Saying, we're not putting up with this bullshit, guys. There are, the players' health is on the line here. This has to be a decent series. It cannot devolve into a complete circus or a dog's breakfast or a crime scene. Yet nothing happened. Nothing happened. And I think that's a frustrating thing for us to think about in this series. Again, we can talk a little bit more about game one, but what I want to see in game two is I want to see Sam Bennett called on the carpet in the first few minutes of the game. He needs to account, and he needs to be held to account for what happened. And I don't know if he's ready to go to it, but in terms of the code, he needs to drop him, and somebody from the Maple Leafs needs to beat his fucking face in the first 5 minutes, and then they can get it over with and play hockey.
I'm not sure that that's going to happen.
Well, if he doesn't, he's a coward.
No. I'm not sure if the Leafs will initiate that.
You don't think it's, Max Domi wants to fight him?
No. I think they want him, but they want to win. And like right now,
a couple of 5-minute majors for fighting. Who gives a shit?
Everybody's on razor's edge right now, Norm. Everybody
get it over with.
Well, I'm sorry. The goal of this team is to win, and if you go into game 2, and believe me, I want frontier justice. I want Sam Bennett to be held accountable. But the problem is, if it's a 0-0 game, you're not going to do that. If it's 5-1 in the third period, go to town. So that's why put Ryan Reeves in the lineup and send him right at Sam Bennett and take him out. Fine.
I'd rather have someone run Bennett all game. Here's the problem with that: how many penalties are you going to induce with that, as opposed to first couple of shifts, drop him, he goes, he's held to account. This is just justice. We'll fight it out. It's over. We move on until the next time he does something that nasty, him or his buddy Matt Tkachuk.
You mentioned him, and I thought the two things and I put them in my blog today, the 2 videos of what Tkachuk tried to do at the end of the second period with Morgan Riley, where he went in and he made knee-to-knee contact. And I think he was trying to hurt him, but Tkachuk is playing hurt. He wasn't particularly effective. I think he's trying to even the playing field here. So he's sewering people. He tried to do it with Riley, and then if you saw the video of him trying to slew foot Mitch Marner, and Marner jumps out of the way. This is a guy he was on a line with in junior. They won a Memorial Cup together, and he's trying to injure him. So it's like, okay, what the agenda here is.
Well, Matt Tkachuk also knows that Mitch Marner is nowhere in his class when it comes to the physicality of the game or the bravado of the game. Marner, this is why people get upset with Marner. And what else can you do for this guy? Because he is so diminutive and he is so skilled. But Marner wants no part of any physical aspect of this game, which is kind of sad considering he's been in the league this long. Should grow a little bit of a thicker skin and a few more muscles and just kind of muck it up a little bit. Number 88 is more apt to get involved physically than number 16. And, it is what it is, but it's in this moment, Mitch, in this moment, brother, with a Stanley Cup on the line, you're going to have to find a way, boy.
Well, he didn't have a particularly strong game, but he did make the pass on the Matthew Nyes breakaway goal. So, they wouldn't have won the game had it not been for that pass. But Marner's just not that type of player. He's not a physical player. And Tkachuk is, and that's what you have to accept. But
so winning a Stanley Cup molds around your abilities, right? The glory comes to you, right, Mike? The glory comes to you, right? When are you going to adapt to what it takes to obtain that glory? When it's been 10 years, and again, we're brothers, and I'm not upset with you, but I'm just saying. And again, I'm very pro Mitch at times, but I'm sorry, you can't have that cup unless you do what it takes to earn that cup. And this is where we have been at a crossroads with this team and these players at a crossroads within themselves.
I'm not saying that somebody will not try to hold Bennett to account, but what I am saying is clearly Craig Berube has told this team, do not initiate, because we saw yesterday, Max Domi gets called on a penalty for nothing. If you don't think in game 2 somebody tries to retaliate and they give Simone Benoit or Max Domi a 5-minute high sticking major or something like that, and that turns the game. If Bennett initiates, if Tkachuk initiates, the Leafs have a duty to protect themselves and most definitely protect their goalie, because Joseph Woll, if he gets hurt, then you're talking Matt Murray in goal. Right. And that's a disaster. Not that Matt Murray isn't capable, but if they knock out 2 goalies, then all bets are off, folks.
So when do we stand in the way from that happening again? Diz K again. Thanks, Diz. Have you been around much? Because I don't recognize the name. Thanks for being here. The Panthers have a cup and 2 back-to-back or Stanley Cup finals doing exactly this. Norm is right. I mean, again, this
This is the playbook. That's what I'm saying. This is the playbook.
Right. For years, the top players in the NBA would be able to take liberties, and we would be angry at the officials for allowing them to do so. But it's a Stars game, so the officials seem to make a statement at the beginning of game one with, "Hey, get out of anybody's kitchen because we want hockey. We don't want any problems." And then the shit devolves. And the Panthers seem to get away with a lot. Quietly are they saying, well, listen, this is the Panthers series. They're the Stanley Cup champions. This is how they play. You're going to have to, if you want to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. You're going to have to beat them at their own game, whether you like it or not.
Well, I don't think that this team, and I said this when we were talking about the series preview, that they can beat Florida at their game. They have to. I agree with your point that you made a few minutes ago. One way you stop the bull crap is to score on the power play. If you don't score on the power play, if you go 0 for 5 like they did yesterday, then all you're doing is encouraging them to be cheap and more cheap, because then they'll say, okay, we can do this with impunity. We can keep being cheap, right, and they can't score on the power play, so we're just going to wear them down. If you score on the power play, you're not going to stop everything. Bennett's going to still be a scum bucket. So is Kachuk. They'll pick their spots.
Right.
It was the same way with Ottawa. Travis Green told Ottawa to cool it after game one because they gave Toronto 6 power plays and they scored on 3 of them. 0 for 5 is the worst thing that happened in that game yesterday.
Well, a 3-goal first period from the Maple Leafs buys them some time. It bought them a little bit. I mean, gave them a little bit more rope. And they were, it's not that it was a good thing they went 0 for 5 on the power play, but a 3-1 lead after one period gives you a bit of, a bit of leverage in a situation where the game can either get out of hand in your favor or go right down to the wire. And it was the latter in terms of game one. If anybody thought the Panthers were just going to lay down their sword and say, see you in game 2, they were sadly mistaken. The Leafs almost lost this thing. And I'm not saying gave it away, right? If it was a completely inferior team coming back because you weren't trying hard, I mean, we've seen the Leafs do that. That's one thing. This is the defending Stanley Cup champions who aren't going to give this up easily, nearly coming back to send this to overtime. And in overtime, as we've seen, they're exhilarating, but it's nerve-wracking, and it can go either way. The good thing is the Leafs got game one done, and the result was in their favor. Mike, whether it's by hook or by crook, whether they fight their way there, whether they act like ballerinas and somehow, God willing, they can get it done, the Leafs would be doing themselves so many favors to win both bloody games at home before going back to Florida. And it would just be huge. It would be huge to go up 2-0, and you know it. Splitting at home is not going to do them any favors when they go to Sunrise. Last few points, and we'll get out of here.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree that it's imperative that they go up 2-0. There are certain things, though, that you can't depend on. Sergei Bobrovsky, if he's going to play as badly as he did in game one, then the Leafs have a good chance of winning this series. But this guy has won a cup. This guy has played out of his mind when he was with Columbus. He's a playoff performer, so you would expect him to have a better game and bounce back. And he, after the 4 goals, which were, I think most of them. Well, the second Nylander goal was pretty good, but most of them were not great. He made a couple big saves, and then Nyes had a nice breakaway goal. So he allowed 5, and that you can't depend on Bobrovsky to do that. But the biggest question here, Norm, is Joseph Woll. And I've been a believer of Joseph Woll. I've been somebody who advocated Joseph Woll that the most important thing this season was to find out whether Joseph Woll is the number 1 goalie. Down the stretch, they went with Stolarz. I understood why, because he was playing better.
Right.
But the question was his ability to stay healthy. Not the it turns out not the knee, but his head, but the concussion problem. Now, and this is something that just popped up. Now it's all on Wall because we don't know when Stolarz will be back. There's a possibility he could be back tomorrow night because Berube is playing at Coy, but I seriously doubt it if he was concussed and he's vomiting. So it's all on Joseph Wall now, and Joseph Wall has to show up and be the goalie that the Leafs thought he was when they signed him to a long-term contract. And if he is, then they have a good chance of winning the series. And if he's not, then they probably don't win the series.
We kind of predicted this, right? And in a perfect world, having both of the goaltenders play and have something at stake is a good thing for the long-term prognosis of the Leafs' hopes of getting deep into the Stanley Cup playoffs and potentially, God forbid, winning the whole damn thing. If there's anyone you want coming into relieve a guy who used to be his relief, it's Joseph Wall, right? I mean, why the hell not? He won more games in the regular season than Stolarz, and for the longest time, we believed he was going to be the game one starter. He is good to go. He has playoff experience. Right? And he's played against the Panthers before. He knows what they're about. He knows he's got to keep his head on a swivel. Right? Well, he was great against Boston last year, too, up to a point, and then got injured and couldn't play. Look, if there's anybody you want to be there right now to kind of batten down the hatches and keep things cool until Stolarz comes back or doesn't, it's Joseph Wall. And that's a quiet, sneaky, low-key advantage the Leafs have in this series, the goaltending.
Well, Nickel City Grunge has it right. He says he came in cold, and he hasn't played for most. Probably, I wouldn't say a month, but he hasn't played in probably 2 to 3 weeks.
17 days.
Yeah. So right, there you go. So him and he played well coming in the second period. It was the third period once they got that first goal from Luosterainen. Then all of a sudden he gives up another one, and everybody's sphincter is tightening at Scotiabank.
It's the Panthers. What else do you expect? They are not going down. This thing, Mike, this series is going 7 games.
But Norm, I mean, yeah, they're playing the Panthers, but it's the thought process of everybody and what the Leafs do in the playoffs. I get texts from friends and family members who are Leafs fans. You could see it on the faces of everybody in Maple Leaf Square. They're thinking they're going to lose.
And they have every right to believe that. Because
right. And until they don't, they're going to believe they're going to lose. So, I mean, they pulled it out. Wall was not strong in the third period. He made a couple saves, but he wasn't strong. Now, with a chance to actually be ready to start in game 2, he's going to have to show up. And if he does show up, then they have a good chance to win. But, I think their chances would have been better had they gone from starting Wall from the start. Mm-hmm. They went with Stolarz, and I understood it, but this is what eventually was going to happen, and now we have to see whether he can handle the job.
This is the concern that I have about my team playing the Panthers, is that if you're too assertive, you're going to look like you're the brute who's out for resolve a vendetta that may or may not exist. Put yourself behind the 8 ball with a man down or 2 men down for a sustained period, and the Panthers are going to take advantage of that, and they know how to be manipulative. But if you don't stand up to them, if you're not assertive to a degree and let them know that you're ready to muck it up if you have to, get into the trenches and get nasty, I mean that the mental game will be lost, because this team has the crown. It plays a particular way. It's not the most effervescent hockey that you've ever seen, but it gets the job done. So the balancing act is getting into the trenches, but pulling back when you have to, and not immersing yourself too deep because you're probably going to lose that game. And again, if it's a battle of who's going to get the officials' call, you're probably going to lose that too because they're going to be in favor of, one, the Panthers. They are the champions. Two, an American team, and a team that that has been known to be given liberties when it comes to the officials. So that's the tightrope that the Leafs are going to walk on tomorrow. I just don't want to see them come out too tentative, because if they blow a wheel in game 2, it's going to be a rough ride trying to keep the momentum and keep the balance of power in the series. Through games 3 and 4 and then beyond. I mean, I think this is going 7, especially if the Leafs can win tomorrow night.
When a team plays out of character, meaning when they play unlike the way they normally play, that gets noticed. And that gets noticed by fans, but it also gets noticed by officials. And if the Leafs come out with their hair on fire and running Sam Bennett, that's out of character for them. So
what do you want them to be? Fucking Gandhi tomorrow and just
no, I want them
be
to
the peacemaker. Like
I want them to win.
Yeah,
and to win, they have to play. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would like to see Bennett pay. I would like to see that,
Can't he pay and can't they win at the same time? They're not mutually exclusive, Mike.
Not if the officials call penalties on them. And that's what you have to worry about.
I get it. But the Leafs cannot skate around the periphery. They cannot skate around the issue.
I'm not advocating that. I'm just saying that they have to be smart. They have to. I would love to see, like I said, put Ryan Reeves in the lineup and send and blow up that nuclear missile. Go at somebody. If that's the way, But you don't want to lose. And the problem is you might lose a game because of that, because he'll probably get a 5-minute major and a game misconduct. Right. Who cares if he gets suspended? But you're going to be using up a spot in your lineup. So all I know is that people will forget this if they win, and we'll see what happens.
So how do you outsmart the smart ass and the pot calling the kettle black? That's what Craig Berube and his crew have to figure out tomorrow. And again, whether you are propelling the team or restraining the team, you are the decision makers. You're up in the series. It is borderline imperative that you win game 2. You have to hold home ice. And the Leafs have shown that they can play with this team. They've shown that, Mike. My concern is that they let they tentative tomorrow night. They let the Panthers run all over them. And if the Panthers get a 2-3-0 lead, they're going back to Florida tied at 1. Any last things you want to say?
No, just go to Hockey Hot Stove and check out my Leafs columns. I'll be doing I'm in the forum, like the comments on my previous employer, and interacting with fans. So everybody come and register at Hockey Hot Stove and take part in the chat. We'll be doing a lot of it, and I'm sure it'll be a very interesting game. Let's just
real quick, OG's Converts. Thank you so much. This has been a really good 30 days for the Leafs Convo, almost 50,000 views for a small project like ours. That is huge. Thank you. It's all because of you. Please like the content. Subscribe to the channel. Mike and I are going to continue to do shows as long as the Leafs are going. And then if it's after a locker clean out, we'll do some more shows and, kind of wind things down. If it's after a Stanley Cup win, I mean, Mike and I may go through the entire summer with, just being just as excited as we've ever been, because we've never encountered it before. That's the key. Like the content, subscribe to the channel, be a part of what we're doing. It means so, so much. I'm going to put a poll up in the community portion of the Leafs Convo YouTube page tonight. Do you think the Leafs need to enact some retribution on Sam Bennett? Does it have to happen in game 2, and does it have to happen on the ice as soon as possible? I'll put up a poll. You guys can answer that. You could either lay in wait and try to win this game and maybe get your retribution down the line when you know you have the series in the bag, or you get it done and over with and move on. the question's going to be out there for you guys to answer, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. For Mr. Augello in Cheektowaga, New York, I'm Norm James in Byron, Ontario. The Leafs Convo for Oak Ridge Ford is out. We'll see you soon.